Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we're going to do an updated character guide on Aranea. She's getting Force Echo and a BT here, and she's looking really good. So I want to do a new proper guide on her so everybody can see how good she is. I will have a damage test coming out on her later as well. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Aranea's artifacts, her spheres, and her calls. Aranea is a very fun character. If you're not familiar, she is a damage dealer, very similar to Lightning. She's like a combination of Lightning and Rains now is what she is. She's a character that unbreaks and breaks like on every attack. She steals free turns like Lightning, and now with her BT, she turns into Sid Rains, where she's going to enable herself to launch, and she gets a powerful launch follow-up. So they just made this girl absolutely nutty and crazy. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at her in this video. So let's go ahead and start with the calls. Her calls actually aren't very notable at all. Her calls are just damage, and then like the high wind call will put on Vital Crusher, which basically enables the party to do guaranteed crits, which that has some value, but other than that, they're not really doing anything other than damage. So I really wouldn't use her calls unless you're desperate for Vital Crusher, but otherwise, yeah, don't worry about it. If you're getting Aranea, it's because you want this girl in the party because she is looking pretty dang good, right? So let's go ahead and look at her artifacts and her spheres here. So for artifacts, you want to do Attack 108 Miss Mercenary Boost. So Miss Mercenary Boost is going to be all stats 5%. This is similar to the one-winged angel that Sephiroth had. So anytime a character has the passive with all the stats, you always want that, right? So as a damage dealer, very similar setup to Sephiroth right there, right? I want to make sure, oh, I'm actually missing a passive. There we go. I was kind of refarming some of the artifacts. I didn't have all the ones I wanted. So there we go. We got all those on. And then we are going to go ahead and hop into the sphere. So I've got my Aranea pretty decked out with some good spheres. So she's got 2 A slots and an E slot. I would say King is probably her best A slot. So this is on a break trigger, which she's breaking nonstop constantly. And this is a big fat 20% attack up. Now, another really good one you could use is Bart's, because Bart's is a 30% max brave up when you break. So if you have King and Bart's on, you're getting 20% attack and 30% max brave on break, which is really good. Now, I didn't have Bart's, but there's a lot of really great other ones you could use. So for example, I thought this is a really great spot for Kain because Aranea is a ranged damage dealer, and ranged damage isn't the most common attack type in the game. So to me, this is a really good spot. So a 15% ranged attack up I thought was very good, and it's when you break or attack a broken target, which is what Aranea is doing. Other than that, I mean, just throw on any attack, brave damage up, range damage spheres that you can find, and you're going to be good to go on Aranea, but that's kind of the setup I have. Now, E-slot, I have a ridiculously huge bias here on Vanille. And I think Aranea, especially right now in the game, is probably the single best character to use Vanille on. Because basically anytime you break, you dispel a buff off of the enemies. So what Vanille Sphere does is it actually changes Aranea's kit and turns her into a dispeller, which I've ranted and raved about how much I love dispellers and I think they're such valuable characters to have. Well, this Vanille Sphere now has transformed Aranea into a dispeller, and Aranea can trigger Vanille more consistently than any other character in the game. Other than, like, say, Sephiroth BT effect, sure, every character then becomes that. But, like, within themselves, like, Aranea, she literally will break on every hit, and that means she can just on-demand dispel a buff. And because she steals a turn, she can dispel. So if an enemy has, say, multiple buffs on, I can hit the enemy, dispel them, take another turn in a row, and dispel them twice back to back. And you can really cover up the really nasty buffs without having to bring other dispeller on your team. So to me, I think Vanille is best in slot here because I love adding that utility. Now, if you are not a fan of that or you don't care about that, then sure, put something like Yuffie on there and get some attack is probably what you want to do, right? All right, so with that, we'll hop into the showcase here. Aranea, by the way, I've got her completely maxed out. Full on everything. Ultimate weapon, blue armor, every weapon's maxed. So this is a full maxed out Aranea. We're going to do the exact same setup with that we did for Sephiroth. Now, the one thing I would mention with Aranea, if you're using her as your main damage dealer, I do recommend that you bring the Pandemonium Summon with, because that is specific to launching. So anytime I bring a launch-based damage dealer, like when I do Reigns, I always bring Pandemonium because it increases your HP damage during launch attacks, which is going to give you a lot more damage output. So we definitely want to show that off here. So we are going to hop in. I'm sure we'll just bring a random friend. Doesn't really matter. And we should just be able to hop in like that. All right, so Sephiroth absolutely tore this fight up. I predict Aranea will as well. We just want to do enough to see what the characters can do, right? All right, so we will talk about Aranea's overhead. She starts with it at 6 turns. This is called Magitech Lance. If you want to upkeep it, you have to hit the LD, and it's going to give it a 14-turn duration. So you hit the LD, you won't have to do it very often. But the overhead is going to be an attack up, HP damage up, and eye brave up. The big thing with it, though, is it makes it so any of her attacks will unbreak the enemies. So it guarantees that she's going to break the enemies even if they start off unbroken, which is awesome. So we're going to put Moonlit here on Aranea. Now, obviously, there are some enemies that do like a Brave floor and they can't be broken. Obviously, she won't be able to break in that instance. But as long as the fight can be broken, Aranea is great. I would say if it's a fight where you can't break, you almost don't want to use Aranea. She can still be really good, but it takes away like a huge portion of her kit. So I would recommend only using her, but there's not many fights where the enemies are unbreakable. It's very few and far between. All right, so Aranea, we can just start by shooting off some attacks, right? So Aranea starts off with a free skill use here. And what's going to happen is she's going to automatically break. So let's go ahead and start with High Wind. And then she should unbreak and then break here. This is going to be an AoE attack. Yep. Okay, so not the craziest damage, just 500k right there, right? But that was not the plus version. She has a plus version, which she has up right now. But it does unbreak the target. It does give her some brave gains, and then she gets a free skill use while doing the base version. So now that she's used the base version, she's upgraded to the plus version. High Wind is going to give her the overclock buff, which is very important. You're pretty much going to always upkeep this, but it's going to be an attack up, an overflow up, and an HP damage up. And then it does put Vital Crusher down on the enemies, which is going to make it so that you always do crit damage, right? And it does crit damage up, so it's very, very good. All right, so now let's just, since we have it, let's do High Wind Plus so we can just see the plus version right away. And just see how much the damage improves, because this is normally what you're going to see. Once again, it's going to free break. Okay, yeah, 1.3 mil. So once you have the actual plus version, that's like normal damage, right? Now, the way Aranea works is just like how lightning does. So if you get a break, you get a free turn. But then if you're on the free turn and you break, you can't get it again. But if you interrupt it, then you can do it. So we'll show that interruption technique here in a second. So what we'll do is we'll show off the 15, which is Dragoon Dive. All right, so let's do Dragoon Dive, and we're going to have the plus version right away. This is going to be a really fat 2-turn delay. So she's got delay in her kit, which is really nice. So watch, we're going to get the break, and then the 2-turn delay. So in a sense, it's actually a 3-turn delay you're getting on that one attack. Now, the one thing I need to mention, well, let's talk about Dragoon Dive, and then we'll talk about something else here. So on Dragoon Dive, it does a Brave Gain, the big single target attack, delays the target by 2 turns. That's if you're on the plus version. And then she gets a free skill use if you have the base version. It's going to give her a buff called Magitech Armament, and then Overclock will go up again as well. And then Magitech Armament is an attack max brave up, speed up, and brave regen. Now, the one thing I want to note is her attack that gives her the free turns. It comes from a buff called High Speed Maneuver, and she only has 3 turns of it, right? So if I look at my buffs, I believe we've already expended it. Yeah. So now if Aranea breaks, she will not get a free turn, and the only way to refresh it is with the EX. So she can't do it like all the time like Lightning can, but once you get the EX rolling, you're good. It just takes a while to get that first EX charged up. So I'll just show you, for example, right now we're on the free turn. So if we were to break and we did have high speed maneuver, we still wouldn't get a free turn. But if you do like the AA, so we could do set overclock, which does give her the overclock buff in case you need it, like on demand. Now if I were to break, I would get the free turn. But the thing is my high speed maneuver is gone, so I won't get it either way here. But while we've got the turn, let's go ahead and let's throw down her BT effect, I think. Let's do that. Her BT effect's going to be looking really nice here. And this is what turns her into Sid Reigns, essentially. She becomes the Sid Reigns. Okay. So, pretty good damage there on the BT. So the burst effect is that Aranea now will initiate a launch, and then she gets a follow-up called air drive. So she's going to get a follow-up attack at the end of the launch, very similar to Rain's. It's going to do a brave damage up, brave damage limit up, HP damage up, and HP damage limit up for the party. So what we're going to do is I think we are going to force charge. And then we might just go like right into it. Like we might go into like an Aranea FR. Does she have her EX yet? No, not yet. So we might go into Aranea FR. And then we will go, and she gets their burst effect for 10 turns, which is really nice. They do that for speedy characters like her and Lightning because they know they steal a lot of turns. So a 10 turn duration, that's 10 turns of her launching and being like ridiculous. So yeah, we're going to ramp all the way into force here. We're not going to play around. We'll just take it all the way to the house. Okay. Keep it going. Perfect. Alright, one more, just to be safe. Alright, and then we're going to pop Seal Evil, I think. So let's go ahead and seal the evil down. And then we're going to do Core's BT effect and have double BT effects up. Alright, Core. We'll put Raijin down as well, make sure we don't get touched. Alright, and then Core's BT effect. Alright, so now we got all BT effects up, so we should be seeing some pretty good damage from Aranea. We're going to go ahead and get her FR effect up. Alright, and what we're going to see here is we should also see the launching with the follow-up on this. So let's do the FR. And then, of course, she's partnering with Fang, which is really hype. I like Fang a lot. I want Fang to get her BT. I want Fang to be really good. She's a character that I think really hasn't shined in this game, and I can't wait for the day that she does. Alright, so here comes the follow-up at the end of the launch. So yeah, we just did 5 mil on that. Pretty good for, like, no force time, right? Alright, so while the enemies go here, we will talk about the FR effect. So it did do a big AoE attack. We did get the overclock buff up. It does apply Vital Crusher to all the enemies. So during the force time, all of Aranea's breaks will delay an extra turn, which is pretty crazy. And then we have a party HP damage limit up. And then for the HP damage conditions, any break or delay will be 40%. So if it's a break delay or a straight up delay, you get 40%. And if you do critical brave damage, it's 30%. So with Vital Crusher down, as long as you break, you're getting the full 70%. So her FR is really meant more for her to just navigate because she's going to guaranteed break. Your other party members aren't going to be breaking, right? Unless you do like a Sephiroth BT effect. But typically it's just you let Aranea like operate it and just go crazy. We will go ahead and double Echo. Now, unfortunately, the echoes from Aerith are only going to get the base 80% because both of Aranea's conditions do require damage. So this should just be like 83%. Yep, 83. Okay, but we did set up that we have a break available. So with your other party members, if you can break somebody, you want to try to break them to ensure that you get more damage. Alright, so now if Aerith, say, just HP plus is here, we should get the full 80% or 70%. So we're going to go like this, and we're just going to do the HP plus attack. And then that should have been crit damage and all that stuff. Yep, so we got 73% there. Then we got the off turn there. Core, what do we want to do with Core? I mean, I could Echo. Is that overkill if I Echo at this point? Maybe. You know what? Let's, I kind of want to get the gauge up for a good burst phase. So actually, I'm going to Reaper Scale for a free turn. Just to get some free percentage here. Okay. And then I'm going to Echo. Well, let me see. What is Oath at? Oh, she doesn't have Oath. Yeah, we got to reapply Oath. So we're going to reapply Oath to Aranea. Because we want to have that during her little burst phase here for sure. Hey, and we got a break. Yep, 78%. Very good, right? All right, so now Aranea, we still need to show the EX, but let's just go into burst phase at this point because now we've got everything set up. So now we're going to be launching with everything we do, right? So let's get this EX up. So this is air superiority. So this is what gives her the really good buff that gives her the free turns. And we got guarantee launching. Now watch what happens. She's going to do the range thing. We're going to attack with everybody. And then she's going to pop in at the end with air drive and just do a bunch of freaking damage. So yeah, 30 mil right there. We're only at 473%, and she's already doing that much, right? We already popped an enemy. Pretty dang good right there. But let's go back to the EX. So it did the big AoE attack. She gets 6 turns of high-speed maneuver, which gives her the free turns. She gets overclock. And that's it for that. So mainly you want to always hit the EX when it comes up because you want to keep high-speed maneuver up. Let me just double-check high-speed maneuver. It also gives her 50% crit damage up as well. So it's good. So now we got a free skill use. So sure, let's Dragoon Dive, which is going to break into Oblivion because during the Force time, this is going to be like a 4-turn delay because we're going to get 2 turns. Whoops, I accidentally did an HP attack there. We get 2 turns from the Force effect, giving an extra turn to her break delays, and then 2 turns from the actual attack itself. So you can go crazy and just push the enemies back into Oblivion. If the fight allows you to no-turn it, like Aranea is going to be good at it, right? Sure, let's hit the LD again. We'll call this like a little mini damage test here, but we have a proper damage test coming out a little bit later. I have it pre-recorded. I'm just not sure when I'm going to have it go live because I don't know if I want to dump like 8 videos in one day. I think I do want to spread them out a bit. So maybe tomorrow we'll have the Sephiroth and Aranea damage test. That's maybe what we'll do. All right, we're at 657. Dragoon Dive again. All right, how much damage at 657 with all the launch attack damage here? The big air drive. 50 million right there. By the way, if you're struggling with the Spiritus tree and you have Aranea, she can handle the Spiritus tree. We'll put it that way because that was built for Reigns. And Aranea is basically Reigns. So, sure, let's do the FR attack at 735. And of course we're breaking like crazy. If the enemy did survive this burst phase, like they would not be visible for a long time. They are pushed so far back, it's crazy. Oh, I was supposed to brave attack there. Alright, so what do we got here? Yeah, all the overkill damage. 50 million again. And we weren't even at full gauge. So this is a character now that I think is surpassing Tifa for that single hit. Like, I think she's doing 70 mil plus on a single hit at full gauge for sure. We'll do high wind just because we haven't done that one in a while. Once again, we didn't even get to full gauge here. In the damage test, we will see Aranea at full gauge, though. So at 800%, we just did 53 million. Pretty dang good. And then here comes the burst attack to finish it off. Looking pretty good, my girl Aranea. Unfortunately, I don't think you don't get launching on the BT attacks. So that's unfortunate. But dude, she just casually did 300 mil with like mainly one target there. So that's a little preview as to what her damage is going to be looking like on the damage test. So anyways, let me know what you think of Aranea. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.